Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and the reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. We're also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to or inciting, directed to it's, look it up.
You know the thing. Just pull a Biden. You know the thing.
Yeah.
The thing.
Yeah. Just say in Minecraft after everything and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Everything we say is
established legal thing.
Yeah, everything we say is hypothetical. Oh, why did I mess that up?
I don't know. We do it on literally every episode.
It's
every
episode
week.
Episode 176 right now. And I've done it like 100 times. Probably like 120 something times. And I still do it.
I get tripped up saying my spiel daily when I knock on people's
doors. My
doors.
worth as a human being is to mess up.
It's like the fifth or sixth one. I'm like, bleep.
Yeah, some people, you exist solely to serve as warnings for others.
Don't do drugs, kids. Don't drink and take muscle relaxers. And I'm not gonna finish that story.
Story once about a dude who took like just an enormous amount of muscle relaxers and got super hammered and like spent 3 days just like laying on the floor. And every once in a while they had to like drag him to the bathroom so he could piss.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I woke up in a puddle of my own piss and shit and vomit.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I spent 8 days in the hospital.
Yeah, his experience was better than that.
Yeah. Well, I was not trying to live after that one.
Yeah. Well, then
so anyway,
more than he was.
How about this spring weather? Oh no.
What's spring weather?
Hot as shit out here.
It's already 80 degrees.
I got one day that was like 75. Yesterday it was gorgeous. This morning it's like 25-mile-an-hour winds and it's like 40 degrees.
Bro, they got 30 inches of snow in Elk City, Idaho.
We got record high heat for April in Denver area. 89 degrees in April.
New Mexico has like 20 wildfires burning right now. Governor just declared a state of emergency.
Good Lord. That's a lot of fire.
And then we went back to 25-mile-an-hour winds and red flag warnings. Yeah. Fun times.
Good times. Fun stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be like 40s, 50s, and rainy for the next like week.
Yeah, we're like mid-70s.
Lucky.
And sunny.
Yeah.
Clear. Oh, we get our smog though. Woo!
Hey,
ours
is
nice, Dust Bowl.
The nice gray skies.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be a beautiful day.
Yep.
Yeah, we get those. We get Spare the Air Days coming up. That's a good one for you. Spare the Air Day. Okay, so the San Francisco Bay Area is like its own micro government, right? So there's the state government, and then there's the San Francisco Bay Area, which is just like 9 counties, acts as its own government. And we actually get taxed on the air because we have the Bay Area Air Quality Management Board, which literally tests the air, and if the air is too smoggy, then they issue a Spare the Air Day alert, and like public transportation is free. And you can't run generators, and you can't run like lawnmowers and things like that. And you can't run your fireplace unless it's your only source of heat. And your neighbors can snitch on you if you do, and they get like $25 gift cards.
Yeah. California loves those snitching bills.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
they got that snitch one for license plates too.
Mm-hmm.
That's like with the free donuts and shit to get people to go get an experimental injection. Like people are so easily bribed now. It's ridiculous. Like I don't get it. You're willing to do horrible things to each other in exchange for basically a pat on the head.
Well, it's the perceived authority. Like, I'm a good girl. Look what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's
right.
Oh. I hate
I got
Karen
pulled
so
over and
much.
got a gift card for being a good driver. Yay!
We literally threatened your life, but here's a gift card for being a good driver.
Imagine if somebody like peeled out and like took off because they thought they were being pulled over for like a legit reason.
That's
I was just gonna say that, like,
gift card asshole.
and then just take off.
that's actually, I've seen that happen actually.
Oops.
Ooh.
Well,
Yeah. I don't know where you guys want to start tonight.
oh,
We don't want to start with that one place over there because the YouTube monitors will be upset at us.
yeah. I think personally, we should start with the aliens.
No, we have to save it for later because that's a good laugh.
Okay, how about AOC?
Okay, we go AOC.
Yeah.
People say AOC, and I just get in the back of my mind. Commie titties.
Yeah, that's I mean Miss Titty.
Big old commie monkers. Which you know she's not getting from eating vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So AOC says January 6th, the riot was a trial run and claims, quote, they're going to come back if Republicans retake the House in the midterm elections.
What sense does that make, though?
Doesn't make sense.
We won. Let's storm the people that we wanted.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said that the U.S. Capitol riot last January was a trial run, and that if Congress could come under attack again if Republicans regain a majority. Quote, if we lose the House, this is no joke, January 6th was the trial run, and a lot of people don't seem to understand that, she said in a town hall meeting in Queens on Wednesday. Quote, it was a trial run, and they're going to come back if they win the House. The only reason it wasn't worse is because Democrats had the House, and they didn't have the votes. If they take the House, then they have the votes to not authorize and legitimize the presidential election, whatever the results are. So this is very serious.
Oh, good Lord.
It's so
He's
bad.
He's just a walking word vomit.
If you see
Not
the
only-
video,
not
of
only
her
that, but
saying
but it doesn't make any sense either.
it doesn't. It doesn't make. And what's funny is if you see the video of her saying it, the ASL interpreter for it, the looks on her face, I think, say everyone's reaction because she's like,
Wait, what?
like, what is going on? What?
Yeah. The video for that is in the article that we're using. It's she just looks so confused.
She's like, what the hell is
Oh.
going on?
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, come on. Okay. Let's see, where is it? It says with the House Select Committee still investigating the riot and Donald Trump's potential role in the violence, the subject will likely loom large on the campaign trail ahead of the November midterm elections, which will determine which party will control Congress for the remainder of Joe Biden's term. The January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol unfolded when a mob of Trump loyalists attacked the seat of Congress as lawmakers were certifying Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election.
They attacked it so violently they obeyed the velvet ropes.
Riot in parentheses.
Was it like they went in on January 6th, and was it the certification like December 20th?
Yeah, it was after, or yeah, the
Yeah.
January 6th was after it was
After,
certified, if I remember right. But on top of that, like, I also would just want to point out linguistically there, it's interesting to say the rest of Joe Biden's term, not first term. They are acknowledging it ain't going to happen again.
Mhm.
Like, there is no way they can do what they did the first
No.
time again. That's not with this guy.
Did you see his speech the other day? Where he's talking about what America is made of, and then he like jarbles some word that doesn't make any sense, and then goes on talking about a completely different subject.
Yeah, it's I love you got to appreciate when a president has the closed captioning that says inaudible while he's like that says a lot. Like,
I still love that video of him turning to shake the invisible man's hand.
No one's hands, and he just looks around.
He wanders around for like 30 seconds, like.
You see the
nobody reached out to grab him. Say, over here, Mr. President.
You see the Secret Service member in the rabbit outfit on Easter?
Yeah, where he's like, okay, wait, no.
He's talking to reporters, and one of the reporters asks about Afghanistan, and Joe Biden like says like 3 letters of a word, and the bunny steps in like right in between them. All right, we're going this way.
Yeah, that well, and I posted a meme out of that. If you haven't seen the film or stage show Harvey, Harvey's a puka. Yes. He's a giant white rabbit, and so I posted it because the pit, one of the screen caps from the camera that was in the audience recording him, he looks very confused as this white rabbit is pulling him away or like putting his hand on him. Said when Harvey tells you that he has to go with the psychiatrist.
Okay, I get the meme now.
Yeah, so he's like, nope, I gotta go, buddy. What?
Yeah. So far, more than 800 individuals have been criminally charged in connection with the riot. It stopped calling it an insurrection.
Yeah, now it's just a riot, and that's the most polite riot.
But 2020 was all protests.
Yeah, those were protests. Those were mostly peaceful protests, but a bunch of people go on an unscheduled tour of the Capitol building, and it's a riot.
And following the velvet ropes.
Yeah, they follow the velvet ropes. They like one person,
nothing
one dude
on
took
fire.
a lectern.
Didn't they brag about picking up the trash?
Yeah, like they picked up a bunch of garbage. They picked up a lectern, and they stole like AOC shoes or some shit. Like that was it. Like a little petty theft in an unscheduled tour.
Oh,
that's a riot. But actually burning half of a city to the ground, that's just,
that was mostly peaceful protesters.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
Did
you see? Speaking of the protest, did you see that Biden shook Great Coinst or whatever the
guy that got his arm shot off.
Yeah, he shook his hand.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The felon that was in possession of a firearm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that should be in jail.
Yeah. That guy.
Yep.
But he played for the right. He's playing for the right team.
Yeah. Yep. So apparently, it doesn't matter that he's
the left team.
Yeah. Well, he can't play for the right team after what Rittenhouse did to him. So.
Oh, goodness. In the House, 139 Republicans voted against certifying the results of the 2020 election, well short of the 218 needed for the majority. However, Democrats currently hold a slim majority in the House of Congress, in both houses of Congress, and would need to lose just a half dozen seats in November for the GOP to gain control.
Not that anything would change.
No.
Yeah. Recent polls show Republicans with an advantage ahead of the election, with the RCP average of generic congressional ballot placing the GOP ahead by 3.5 points.
Well, I mean, it's not like one, it's not like any of those numbers are real, but two, it's also, you got to remember that, like, look at what the Democrats have done since they took control. Like, does that shock you at all?
Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna hurt Andrew in just a second. Just skip a few paragraphs. Both sides agree that the United States and its democracy are in a dire state, according to the poll published by the New Republic last week that saw 74% of respondents say that the American political system is threatened.
Democracy. That's what America is now.
Published by the New Republic.
Yeah, exactly. That's just
57% of GOP voters believe that the Capitol riot was, quote, an act of patriotism, rather than an insurrection. More than a year after the day Trump supporters disrupted a joint session of Congress, 42% view it negatively.
That's a correct description. They disrupted a joint session of Congress. Okay, I'll give you that. That was a disruptful thing. That's all I'm going to give you, though.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Democrats felt much stronger on the issue, with a whopping 88%, denouncing the riot as an insurrection. Just 12% called it patriotism.
Wait, I think what I actually find shocking there is that there are 12% of Democrats who actually still thought that was patriotic. That actually surprises me.
Weather Underground, people still support Weather Underground.
That's true.
So there's still some Bill Ayer fans out there. Okay. A majority of both sides, 64% of Democrats and 75% of Republicans, are, quote, worried about the trajectory of U.S. democracy over the next decade or two.
You don't live in a democracy. You don't even ostensibly live in a democracy. You ostensibly live in a republic, but you really live in an oligarchy.
Yes.
But it's not even, they don't even pretend that it's a democracy. In fact, the founding fathers went on and on about how a democracy,
how it's not a democracy. Yeah. On a list of issues that survey respondents were asked to weigh in on being, quote, a serious threat to democracy in America, a majority of Democrats and Republicans both said they view, quote, the possibility of political violence in that light.
Yeah, considering you guys have pushed everything to the left and right extremes.
Yes.
That wow, what a shock that everyone's like, yeah, there's probably going to be a civil war pretty soon.
Like totally shocked. Just real shocked by that. Totally shocked.
Yeah, you've made it a complete inevitability with your rhetoric.
Yeah, let's see how it works out for them.
Yeah, and that started, they started it. Like the extreme political left in America is what started pushing everything that direction. They started that very, very early on. I mean, you started seeing it in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it's just been growing since then. And, 20 years on of pushing things more and more extreme, what a surprise that no one wants to even reach across the aisle anymore. It's because it's too big an aisle. You can't fit your hand over there.
Not only can you not fit your hand over there, but we're going to get into an article on the libs of TikTok doxing.
Yeah. You don't want to reach your hand over there.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like if you say anything that they disagree with, they will do everything in their power to completely deplatform you, to kill your voice.
Yeah.
And in some cases, like actually try to get you killed by swatting you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. That's was it the Timcast has been swatted like 8 or 9 times now?
Yeah, something like that. Okay, let's just get into that one. The Libs of TikTok expose is part of a new trend, shaming private citizens who dissent.
Yeah,
controversial.
It's not really a new trend though. It's been around for a couple of years. Thanks for noticing.
Mm-hmm.
Ask Magnus, who can't even order a fucking burger on Uber Eats.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'd order a burger on Uber Eats, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, you can totally get a burger, but
no, I would. He wouldn't.
Yeah.
A controversial expose in the Washington Post by journalist Taylor Lawrence, who is being fucking dragged through the mud. It's fantastic to see how much shit she's getting.
Oh yeah, I quote tweeted her tweet whining endlessly about how mean everybody's being just because she doxed somebody.
Yeah.
And I reposted my I want you to do your part, cyberbully journalists at every opportunity.
You see that the ADLs post on that about how there's a big difference there's a big difference between doxing people that are threats and doxing journalists or whatever, or informers or whatever it was, something like that.
Yeah, and it's
even the courts agree. It's like no.
Doxing is doxing, motherfuckers.
There's no. It's like you want to view this as a war. War goes both ways.
Yep. It's because they don't want actual conflict. What they want is to be able to bully. And as soon as, like any bully, as soon as the bullying doesn't work and the people they're trying to bully fight back, they're like, "Oh God, oh you hurt me."
Yes. Let's see who wrote this piece. This is a piece by Angie Speaks, co-host of the Low Society podcast. Controversial expose by the Washington Post by journalist Taylor Lorenz revealed the identity of a popular anonymous Twitter account, quote, Libs of TikTok. This article included private information about the account holder in a naked attempt to shame her into silence, and as such is part of a large trend in which liberals use legacy and social media to silence dissent. The Libs of TikTok account exploded in popularity last year for hosting viral videos of overzealous liberals engaging in bizarre behavior and advocacy. As bizarre as doxing an anonymous account over political differences seems, Lorenz went so far as harassing the family members of the women behind the account in an attempt to gather information.
Oh
Yes.
boy! You know, if anyone ever like tried to harass my family members or like, do you know what he does? They'd be like, yeah, he's nuts. Yeah. Like, what's your point? I don't know what more you're looking for out of me.
Yeah, if they went after my brothers or my kids, and my brothers or my kids would probably treat them worse than I would.
Oh, I'm just begging some journalist to try and call my grandmother, my extremely angry 90-something-year-old Irish grandmother, and try and harass her. Like, oh, that's gonna work out really well for you.
That's a brave question for a person that drives their own car.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't say that in an Irish accent though, but
and you start your own car in the morning, do you?
But these kind of attacks on the privacy and anonymity of private citizens who dissent from the liberal hegemony in ways found to be, quote, problematic have unfortunately become more commonplace in recent years. And it's not just coming from journalists. After a group of miscreants stormed the Capitol on January 6th, Congressman AOC suggested keeping a tally of political dissenters. Quote, is anyone archiving these Trump sycophants for when they try to downplay or deny their complicity in the future? I foresee
a list of political opponents. That's definitely the mark of a free country.
I foresee a decent probability of many deleted tweets, writings, photos in the future, she tweeted. Yeah, that's a good look.
Yep. Agreeing with Hitler is always a good look. That's
AOC's call to action seems to have prompted the formation of a group called the Trump Accountability Project, whose goal was to curate a list of White House staff, cabinet members, and political appointees across the U.S. government whose jobs were linked to the Trump administration in order to blacklist them from future work. Again, agreeing with Hitler.
Yep.
Despite the clearly alarming trend of creating an official list of enemies for your political opponents and using ethically questionable means to expose private information, these kinds of retribution fantasies are enthusiastically embraced by the Democrats and their media allies.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just saying, like, if maybe Stalin and Hitler did it, go another direction.
A little bit. Just
I mean, that way. But I'm just saying, like, you know, if you're gonna be a National Socialist, like, be open about being a National Socialist.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Jack in the comments. Maybe Hugo Boss can outfit AOC and her friends in the latest fashions. Oh, ooh.
Her next gala dress can say "Papers, Please" across the back.
Oh man.
Oh,
Or she could maybe work with IKEA a little bit, or maybe Coca-Cola.
Volkswagen could hook her up with a new ride.
Yeah. Can you imagine her showing up in a black Mercedes limo to
Taylor Enns' doxing of the libs of TikTok is just the latest incarnation of this trend. It showcases the absurd lows that corporate media will stoop in order to silence independent voices that capture inconvenient popular sentiments.
And it needs to be noted here too that if you haven't seen the libs of TikTok Twitter, I'm definitely a follower. It's fucking glorious. She doesn't say anything. All she does is repost the videos that the shit libs of TikTok have willingly put on TikTok themselves. That's all she does. She does nothing but post those. That's what pissed this chick off so much.
Photos and video, and let's see. According to Twitter, they are at 957,000 followers.
Yeah, they gained like an extra 30,000 or something after that article came out, where people were like, really, this sounds awesome, and went subscribe.
One need not agree with the political stances of Trump supporters or the libs of TikTok account to feel apprehensive about these attacks on anonymity and privacy being normalized and celebrated as brave activism.
So brave.
Apply that to the Patriot Act,
Mm-hmm.
the NDAA, to red flag laws, to stop and frisk.
I mean, and I just want to point out that if anybody would like to dox me and maybe have people show up at my house, I mean, that could be fun for one of us.
It could be fun at 2,100 feet per second.
Yeah, should be fun. I'll say hi. It'll be loud.
The Washington.
Like, hi.
He'll even use Ukrainian ammo.
I mean, I got a bunch of fucking wolf. I'm pretty sure that's
not Serbian. That might be Russia actual, right?
I think I actually got. Oh no, that's Tulamo. That definitely is Russia.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got some wolf sitting somewhere.
Yeah. The Washington Post expose not only failed to explore the culture and political reasons why the libs of TikTok account gained so much cultural prominence, it also failed to contextualize why the choice to dox the anonymous user served any real political or journalistic purpose beyond a show of malice and intimidation.
Yeah, it's blatantly for intimidation purposes.
Yeah. This kind of petty behavior is a common theme among the self-appointed digital authorities of the corporate media class who mask their desire to silence independent actors that pose a threat to their discursive dominance beneath the facade of activism and the work of exposing pernicious actors.
Yeah, that's
a good line. That's a good line.
Yeah.
She went full 75 cents there.
Yeah, it's important to, again, remind everyone all she was doing is reposting their videos. She wasn't
right. No commentary, no voiceover, no nothing, just sharing what they were doing.
Yeah, just posting the videos, and they're all fucking raving psychopaths, and that's all she did was hold a mirror up to them, and that is what pissed them off so much. Yeah. She didn't
even really hold a mirror up to them. All she did was archive it.
Yeah, but I mean, because she was, because a lot of those people that are posting those videos are doing it thinking that, they're in their own little echo chamber, and in their own little echo chamber of psychopathy, they can be as neurotic and insane as they want. And to them, that's fine. What pissed them off is now all of a sudden people who aren't part of their little crazy circle are seeing just how crazy they really are when they think no one else is looking.
Yep. Somebody else of chambers for people they disagree with. And therein lies the true agenda behind the calls for accountability that are too often weaponized by media figures who the establishment favors. The desire to control the cultural output of political opponents by employing any means necessary to silence them, including unethical means. This is then justified by portraying private citizens who are simply utilizing their political power and speech as dangerous spreaders of, quote, disinformation, or as a, quote, threat to democracy, as in the infamous case of the Trump Accountability Project or the podcaster Joe Rogan.
Yeah, it's and again, I mean, remember, these are the same people that are swatting Timcast like weekly.
Well, you know, it's
Have called in the bomb squad on them and everything. This is what these people do. And you notice that they don't do anything themselves. What they do is they enable other people who are nuts to do it, because they're also too much cowards to do it themselves. And the reason that Taylor Lorenz has gotten so nuts about it is because in response to her doxing the lady who runs Libs of TikTok, that she was then doxxed and is now getting dragged all over Twitter and everything. And she's freaking out about it because all of a sudden the same tactics that she apparently was under the impression was exclusively the realm of her side suddenly is being turned against her, and she doesn't like it very much. Look at that.
Yep. There's another quote from John, or from Jack Curtis. Democracy deserves to be threatened when it's corrupted.
I think it just deserves to be threatened.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
I think it's inherently corrupt.
At its core.
I had a point and I forgot where the point I was going to make.
I mean, it's like the debate that always happens.
There's a blog I used to follow called Operation Werewolf, and there's it's either that one or the Jack one. Either way, the fantastic this piece is called "Violence is Golden," right? And it's these people, right? They use these online methods. They use doxing, they use bullying, they use deplatforming, things like that, as a means of trying to bully people. But what they really are trying to do is trying to create the situation in which violence can be used against the people they disagree with.
Yep.
Right? And they'll decry violence. They'll decry violence. But they love violence. They just don't realize it, because violence is needed in order to enforce the kind of things that they want, society to be. Right? All those save the whale stuff, stop using straws, buy an electric car. Those all require violence for enforcement. So this is just an extension of that violent mentality.
Well, yeah, because they're statist, right? And understand that no statist actually doesn't believe in violence, because in order to have a state, you have to have a group of people who have an exclusive monopoly on violence. That's the definition of a government, right? Is they need to have that exclusive monopoly on violence. So they believe in violence inherently because they support the idea of a state. They must necessarily believe in it.
Yes.
So for them, it's completely logical for them to go, well, I like violence, but I don't like doing it myself. I want somebody else to do it. So I'm going to enable some random crazy person to go commit violence.
Yes.
Or threaten that a random crazy person is going to go commit violence.
Yes.
To try and gain compliance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why Mike Tyson did the right thing.
Yeah, when he fucking just... I love that, there's an air marshal on that plane just going... the whole time he's just bam, bam, bam.
No. In an increasing volatile and capricious media realm, anonymity provides much needed protection for those whose commentary cuts against the official narrative, and attacks against the anonymity are almost always designed to intimidate opponents and impact their livelihood or credibility. This is why, despite making a, quote, bold move of doxing the Libs of TikTok account holder in her expose, Lauren still has not been able to specify exactly why this action was relevant or necessary.
Yep, because because in order for her to do it, she would have to admit that the purpose was intimidation.
Yes, bullying, which the left is supposedly totally against. Right. These punitive measures send a worrying message that the only acceptable commentary is the propaganda sanctioned by the democratic arm of the corporate state machine. If one dares to express or promote sentiments that are a challenge to that hegemony, any consequences is morally justified. Yes. The doxing of the libs of TikTok Twitter user is only the tip of the iceberg. Agreement or disagreement with the sentiments expressed by an account being subjected to silencing shouldn't be the fulcrum upon which the hinge your concern over the precedent their doxing sets for dissenting voices across the political spectrum. The aggressive and outlandish actions that are being carried out in the name of, quote, content moderation have the capacity to impact just about anyone who exists outside of the credential media bubble, including independent commentators and dissenting perspectives on both the left and the right. This is the same thing as the YouTube fact check or the Facebook fact check.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And it's
banning people for misinformation over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, and that's, and the thing is the reason why this is a tactic that, journalists have started using, especially on the left, is because they're really threatened by the democratization of journalism. The fact that you don't have to go to school for journalism anymore. You don't have to get a job at a major publication anymore in order to get your opinion out there, in order to report on things because of social media, because of things like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and everything else. You don't need to be one of them. You don't need to be part of the club.
Yeah, we have Odyssey and Substack, and we have alternative media. We have places like StreamYard that we're using. We don't have to use, mainstream sites. So yeah, I mean,
those mainstream sites are losing their piece of the pie, so they're getting pissed.
Yeah, and they don't like it, and so anybody who becomes successful, not only doing that without being a journalist, but also does it against the narrative, well, now they have to attack that because it's the only way they can attempt to gain any amount of relevance and exhibit any amount of control anymore.
Yes. Jack asks, is this doxing moving the window? I mean, the Overton window. I think it's already been okay. I think it's already been. WAPO wouldn't have done it if it wasn't already acceptable within their circles.
Yeah, I think, and I think that it's the inevitable result of the kind of the rise of the police calling Karens.
Well, not only that, it's
stuff,
the
right?
it's the next it's the next step, right? I mean, there's only so much that they can do, right? So now they have to up the ante. They have to find something new that they can use, right? Because nobody's getting the shot anymore, right? Nobody's gonna stop talking about Trump. Nobody's gonna stop being conservative, right? So now they have to find another way to try and hurt the people that they disagree with.
Well, yeah, not only that, but I mean, at this point, because it's the inevitable next step, it's because they don't themselves. They're still too much of cowards to use the violence themselves.
Yes.
They're still too scared to actually do that because that will result in real consequences directly to them.
Yeah. And that's why they go digital with it. That's why they use the technology. If you look at like who's big in the technology, who runs the technical sites, the social media sites, who runs the big tech companies, who's really innovating on that spectrum of things, right? And it's leftist.
Yep.
Right. I mean, you don't see a Google headquarters in Idaho.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look at the fact that look at what happened where people complained about the censorship and they said, "Well, make your own platforms then," and then MeWe happens, and now. What's the one that Trump has that he's got like a waiting list and stuff for?
Truth. Yeah.
Truth something. There's that now, and they're like, haha, you're gonna create your own sites? Well, isn't that what you just said to do? That if
they lose their fucking minds when Elon talks about buying Twitter.
Yeah, about buying Twitter. And you notice, by the way, that now after the board just said flat out, we'd rather destroy our own company than have him take over, and then everyone started pointing out that it was against the fiscal interests of their shareholders, which they're required to operate under, that as soon as that started getting pointed out, and then Elon started getting a bunch of people together to sue them over it. At that point, all of a sudden, they're going to take a second look at the, are you? Because again, just like this doxing, you honestly thought that you just could do whatever you wanted because in your own echo chamber, this is okay. And in your own echo chamber, your own weird little world that's isolated from everything else, you honestly believe that because you don't like them, you should have the ability to do this because in your circle, they're unpopular. You should be able to do this.
It's the ultimate and fuck around, find out. Just as a reference again to the Mike Tyson thing, right? That guy was fucking with Tyson. He threw a water ball at Tyson, and then Tyson snapped.
Yep.
Right. That guy fucked around, and then he found out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. That's what happened with Taylor Rintz right now. Is she fucked around, doxed the Libs of TikTok owner. And now she's finding out. Right. And I hope she can't sleep at night.
Well, I think it's because these people they exist.
What we need a trucker convoy around her apartment, honking their horns.
Until she loses her mind.
Yeah, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. out there honking their horns.
There's this little thing that you can make with a Raspberry Pi. It's called an annoyinator. And you hook it up to a 9-volt battery and a little speaker, and it beeps at random tones and random volumes at random times. Yep. And it's very, very small. It's about this big when you're done with it.
You can buy them on Amazon too. It's the little prankers, and they use the watch batteries, and they make all sorts of different sounds.
So you can hide that in somebody's house, and they'll hear the beeps, but never be able to find it because the volume is alternating.
Yes.
So it doesn't get louder as you get closer to it. So there's no way to find it.
Yeah. Psychological warfare.
Yes. Psyops. I love psyops.
Yes.
I'm pretty good at them. But like that's the thing is though, is I think these people are so insular from the real world, right? The rest of the world, that they have created their own brand of psychosis.
Yes,
like they're actually psychotic. Like it's their own psychosis where it's their view of reality is divorced from actual reality, which is what they are upset about with the Libs of TikTok thing. Is it was pointing out how psychotic they've really gotten and how separated from reality they really are, and they don't like suddenly having that exposed.
I saw people comparing it to January 6th.
Speaking
right, not the doxing, they compared the account. They compared the account to January 6th, to the insurrection,
because it's their buzzword now. January 6th is their buzzword. Like it's the idiot cowards equivalent of the remember the Alamo. And
it's the equivalent of the libtard label.
Yeah, they're just like, it's, I mean, when you see that constantly happen where like they rally around, people politically, they rally around a phrase that they want to keep bringing up and keep saying and keep using and to the point where it's cheapened and it's ridiculous.
Trust the plan, follow the science.
Yeah, trust the plan. Yeah, that stuff, and they
hope and change, build back better.
Yeah, exactly. And they're
make America great again.
Yeah, make America great again. That's another big one. That's
taxation is theft.
Well, no, that one's true.
Well, of course it's true, but
that was just a statement of fact. I mean,
it's 9/11. It's only 9:43, Jack. He said it's literally the worst thing since 9/11. It's 9:43 on the East Coast. So
Libs of TikTok
in the last half hour, I believe it is the worst thing.
Libs of TikTok overthrew a government. Oh wait,
Libs of TikTok is the reason we have is the reason the Yemeni massacre is happening.
Yeah, the Libs of TikTok murdered Turkish Armenians.
Yes. Under the current order, the issue of censorship and political intimidation of opponents continues to transcend traditional partisan alliances, and if that issue is not threatened with the consideration it warrants by actors of all dissenting sides of the political spectrum, it will result even more hegemoniously. It will
Hegemony.
Say the word. There you go. In tightly controlled media sphere, where dissent eventually ceases to exist in spaces that are easily accessible to the mainstream. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the mainstream. That's the thing, is it's the threat to the mainstream.
Mhm.
It's this idea that you're not adhering to, you're not obeying the orders of the party. Are you antisocial?
Yeah.
Do we need to send
Yeah.
you to the camps? Like-
There will be no outlanders.
Yeah, exactly. It's there. I mean, and that's the thing. It's what we're seeing is the same kind of stuff that you saw in the Soviet Union after Lenin took over, especially where anybody.
Hey, come on now. Hey, no, come on. Russia is literally Nazis. We know this now.
The Russians are the Nazi. I love that. Yeah, Putin is basically Hitler as his forces are fighting Nazis.
As
Actual
people,
Nazis.
yeah. Did you see the rally in Manhattan the other day?
No.
There was a pro-Ukraine rally, and they were chanting Azov.
Oh yeah, I did see that, and I was like, you know what they should have done though, really, so that everyone knew how much they support them, is they should have saluted them, maybe like just with their right hand,
right,
like palm
the,
down,
the
outstretched.
Prayer, yeah, right hand, stretch it forward, outward, upward.
Yeah, slight upward angle.
Send your thoughts and prayers to the end of your hand.
Yeah, see, that's really what they could start here, and then move it outward and upward. Go. And stand there, click their heels together, maybe as they do it.
Ooh, some nice Hugo Boss clothing.
Yeah, some nice black Hugo Boss clothing. I mean, say what you will.
Then they can climb back in their Volkswagens and their BMWs.
Yeah, well, and it was Hitler had a Maybach, I believe. I think those were actually Maybachs. They're the special division of Mercedes.
Yeah. Sponsored by Fanta.
Yeah, you can be sponsored by Fanta. That's you know what's funny is speaking of Fanta, a couple of years ago, just quick fun fact that you'll laugh really hard at. A couple of years ago, Fanta brought back their original formula from World War II, which is really good. Doesn't taste like anything else out there. I actually really, really like it. It's a apple mainly flavor and stuff. It's really light, whatever. But they brought it back, and in their advertising campaign, it was a taste of the good old days.
Oh gosh.
It ran for like a couple of months, and then somebody's like, guys. Like it was like an old man sipping a can of Fanta that was like in his 70s, sipping a can of Fanta, and it was like, taste the good old days. And it's like,
did he have like a little mustache like this?
Yeah, you're like, what? You do remember
an armband on while he was drinking it.
Yeah, like you do remember what the good old days were, right? I think you can still find the ad on the internet. It's freaking hilarious because it's done so like seriously and everything as a real ad, and you're like, oh my god. Well, that would be like Volkswagen having a Founders Day. It's maybe
David, what's up, man? Okay, we got one. I got one. I did not. Did I put this one on the list? I don't think I put this one on the list for you guys. Let's see. Okay, good. It's not on the list. I did grab the right one. Okay. Now that we had a laugh, we have to get Andrew angry.
That's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry.
All right, I'm not gonna read the title. I'm just gonna start reading the article. It's been said that no good deed goes unpunished. A Virginia Beach landowner is finding that out the hard way after he tried helping some people who were homeless by letting them set up camp on a piece of his land. After 8 years, the city had other plans, and they now want the homeless people out. The property owner is Ron DeAngelis. In Italian, his name means the angel. In many ways, DeAngelis is an angel for the homeless people, a guardian angel who only wants to improve their quality of life. That's speaking of the newspaper, we met DeAngelis on his property at the electric utility pole in front of thick woods that hide what's behind it. Quote, it was foolish for them to have gas-powered portable generator. I said, you pay me the electric utility bill at the end of the month, which they have been doing for the past umpteen number of years. I'm happy. They're happy. Why ruin it?
Yeah, who's being hurt here?
7 years ago, DeAngelis put up an electric utility pole for the people camping out on his property. DeAngelis said the city of Virginia Beach claims in a summons to appear in court that DeAngelis, quote, unlawfully permits ongoing homeless encampment on property. Quote, I don't understand it myself. They've been here for 8 years. What's wrong with it? The city told me the homeless people have to go.
I'll tell you what's wrong is they're planning on seizing that through eminent domain and giving it to a big developer. That's what's happening.
Yes. He then took us, again, us is the newspaper. He then took us back to the camp where 6 people now live. Quote, Andy Fox is coming to pay a visit, he announced as we found our way around a clean camp. There are 4 tents and a tarped common area. No trash on the ground. Clean. Usually about 6 people come back to the area. You cannot see the camp from Bird Neck Road, and they can't see out. There's only one abutting property that can see one of the tarp structures. We met the neighbors who say he contacted the city not out of concern, but out of curiosity. He also mentioned sometimes you can hear the camp's residents talking.
Why wouldn't you just pop over there to see what was going on? Jesus fuck, you called this piece of shit.
Because they don't want to get shot by a meth keg.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. You can see where the appliances are plugged into an outlet. They have a top-line freezer where the hamburger was so frozen if you knocked it on your knuckles, it hurt. DeAngelis got notice that the violation of the property is zoned, quote, business 2, so he then moved the camp to the part of the property that's, quote, residential 10, which is medium density. Right? He claims he went back to tell the zoning department that residents had moved to an R10 side of the property. A receptionist at the counter said that would be fine. Later, a zoning inspector contacted DeAngelis and said that was not true, and that the zoning ordinance says no recreational camping.
It's not recreational, it's residential.
Yeah.
DeAngelis points out what he thinks is the most important. He says, quote, they are happy here. What's the big deal? I want them there. Clifton James is emotional about the possibility of having to leave the camp. Quote, that's a damn shame that somebody is trying to help these homeless people out of having a good heart. And now they want to take my landlord to court. DeAngelis goes on, quote, here's what I want. I want the city to leave them alone. They haven't created any problems in the last 8 years. They are happy the way they are living.
They're fine with where they're at. They're bothering no one. They're not making a mess.
Yeah.
They're not negatively affecting anything. They're just trying to exist. But when you don't have a home, when you are the most indigent of indigent people, the state has a problem with you because you're less able to control those people because they already have nothing. You can't take anything away from them. So what do? They take away the one thing they have, which is a place to safely stay.
Yes. But they want to shove you into a homeless shelter with 100 other people, with mental disorders, alcoholics, drug addicts, thieves, murderers,
COVID.
Rapists.
Yeah.
During
COVID.
Yeah.
But
you know the shit I've seen in fucking homeless shelters? Like, my God.
He has
and shit.
He has court tomorrow morning, so next episode we should have an update on that.
And he's doing stuff that, like, the
8 years.
When stuff is brought up about the homeless and stuff, especially like back in California and everything, people always tell me, it's like, well, why don't you just let them stay on your property? This guy's doing that.
Yeah, he's doing that, and now the city has a problem with it.
8 years. It took him 8 years before they're like, okay, no, fuck you, they got to go. Right.
Yeah.
So they've been there 8 years without any issue.
Yeah, and still no issue.
Still no issue. Yeah.
They haven't caused any problems. Even a reporter, like, right, an objective, arguably objective third party comes in and goes,
well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they've doxed anybody. So I don't know. If they're
yeah. Well, like I said, arguably objective.
But arguably, it's cleaner than a normal campsite you would go to, like, Yellowstone. or something.
They pointed out that it was clean.
How clean
there was no trash.
Yeah, there's no garbage anywhere. They're not affecting everything. There's not. They're just trying to live, man, and they've been there for 8 years, and they haven't affected anybody negatively at all.
They literally pay for their own electricity.
Yeah, like what? Well, they're not hurting anybody at all. There's nobody outside of that property is being affected in any way by them being there. This is the result of busybodies, and I can almost guarantee you that the government is pissed off because that's why it got pointed out that they're on a zoned business. section. Because again, they want that property because they want to give it to a developer.
Probably entirely possible. So, but now they're on the residential side of the property, which is weird how that can just happen.
Yeah, property being zoned in 2 different zones.
Yeah.
One half and then the other. Well, it's probably 2 separate lots and he bought them both.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. But like, he
that's
doesn't have
my
a problem with it. Yeah, the property owner doesn't have a problem with it. The neighbors can't even see anything other than a tarp.
Yep.
That's it.
And that's only one neighbor.
Yeah, and that's one neighbor who just was curious. They weren't even mad about it. They were just like, I wonder what that is. That was it. Yeah. And now they're trying to what's going to happen to them? Where are they going to go?
Onto the street or into the
they'll be out on the street.
The shelters.
Yeah, and then they're going to complain, and then residents are going to complain. There's all these homeless people. Where'd they all come from all of a sudden? Well, they've been there the whole fucking time without you noticing. Yeah. And then you decided that your government should force them the hell out of where they were set up.
Yep. It's NIMBY. It's NIMBY bullshit, right? Not in my backyard. That's what it comes down to.
It's the same shit that.
Well, this isn't your backyard. This is David's backyard. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's his backyard, and he's fine with it. So
he welcomed them.
Yeah, they did the same. They did the same thing here, where the city was just dumping all of its sewer, big concrete sewer things that they bought and then didn't use. Where they dumped all those, the homeless set up there. They were fine. You couldn't see them from anywhere at all. Like the walking trail through the marsh went on the other side of a berm and some woods from where the camp was, and you could not tell the camp was there. And you were within 25 feet of it, except that you heard voices over there. You had no idea what was going on. No one knew it was back there for the most part. It was fine. And then the city decided that, well, that's not okay now. We're going to force you out. Kicked them all out, crushed up all of the sewer tubes and stuff, and just used it as like landfill. And now they're all in tents that the city gave them, set up in the city park in the middle of town. Yep. Completely coating the park with their tents that previously no one had anything to do with, and now they're smack in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
Now they can be used as political ammo though, because people can see them.
Yeah, like they weren't hurting anybody. No one cared, and then you had to force them out. Where the hell else were they going to go?
I don't know. So
they're it sounds homeless.
Like government is not good people.
No.
Right?
What?
Yeah. They're famed theoretical physicist calls NASA beaming Earth info into outer space a horrible idea.
Yeah, a little bit. Have you not watched Stargate?
Independence Day?
Yeah.
I watched Independence Day this morning. Yeah.
Building our homeless people armed with 3D printed brass beam planters.
There was a libertarian running for office. Yeah, there's a libertarian running for office in Michigan who literally ran on the platform of arming the homeless and actually gave a homeless guy his shotgun.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that was
20 with a shotgun.
It was like 2017 or something, but yeah, crazy libertarians arming the homeless so they can defend themselves.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, they need to protect themselves from the fucking aliens.
Yeah, but I have to agree with Dave in the comments. It'd be a good patch. The government's not good people. Just like government, not good people.
0 out of 10 would not recommend.
Yeah, would not recommend.
Critics are warning against the NASA plan to beam information about Earth into outer space, with theoretical physicist Dr. Michio Kaku saying it is a horrible idea. Brian Kilmeade said the plan reportedly to include information about DNA structures, physics, diagrams of human bodies, and geolocation.
Here's all of the information you could possibly need to engineer bioweapons against us. Yay!
As if they didn't have enough information from the kidnapping of probings.
Yeah, like, are you kidding me? You got to wonder about the probing, too, because they've been doing it for, like, 50, 60 years that we know of, and I would wager the only thing they've actually figured out with it is that, like, 1 in 7 don't actually mind it that much.
Yeah. Why does that stat make sense? Oh, I'm too sober to handle this. Koku told Jesse Waters Primetime that many people believe aliens are more like E.T., the extraterrestrial made for the screen by Steven Spielberg, rather than potential belligerent beings that could take over the Earth and kill its inhabitants.
Yeah, why are you assuming they're peaceful? Have you not watched science fiction?
Quote, the fundamental mistakes if they assume that the aliens are like E.T., warm and friendly, but they could be like the Borg out on a rampage over our corner of the galaxy. We can't assume the best case scenario in this situation.
No, the best case scenario would be they're more like Paul.
I'm just saying, E.T. never stuck anything up people's bums.
I mean, he could have, though, and it would have glowed.
Why is my belly button glowing? Because that was a long finger.
It's a nightlight.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely people who otherwise would not be okay with that, but are curious because it glows. Like, can you still see it? How brightly does it glow?
Oh God! If I edited this podcast at all, I would remove that entire sentence. Yeah, there we go, Dave. Mostly peaceful facehuggers.
Yeah, peaceful. Yeah, I mean but I mean, like, look, like, okay, so you got Independence Day, Stargate, what else? What else we got?
War of the Worlds,
all the aliens movies.
War of the Worlds.
Kaku added that the Orson Welles classic War of the Worlds is another potential warning.
Yeah.
Quote, it wasn't that the Martians hated Earthlings. No, we were just in the way. They wanted the Earth and they had the technology to run over us, so we had to be careful.
We just had to cough on them.
Oh, what was that horrible John Travolta alien movie they took over the planet?
Oh, the Battlefield Earth, which is actually based on actual Scientology, and that's why it's so terrible and ridiculous. But there's that episode of Twilight Zone, right? To Surf Man.
Hold on. Koku noted that the current plan is a follow-up to a 1974 project when a message was beamed from the now defunct radio telescope in Puerto Rico. That year, the interstellar message was beamed into a distant star cluster. Quote, in retrospect, I think that was a dumb idea. Playing Russian roulette with a loaded gun, not knowing who's out there, what their intentions are. I think it was really foolhardy.
Russian roulette with a loaded gun is a little redundant. Like, if you're playing Russian roulette with an unloaded gun, everybody just wins.
There are worse things to play Russian roulette with.
Yeah, you could play it with an automatic, like that guy that won a Darwin Award.
We've all seen what is it?
Tiger King?
American Pie Beta House.
Yeah, and playing with an automatic weapon is a bad idea.
Even a semi-automatic weapon.
Well, I mean, automatic loading. Like, if you work the action, it loads around. Like, you're just committing suicide.
Kalain remarked it could turn into a real life version of the 1996 film Independence Day.
We need to find an alcoholic crop duster pilot, just in case.
I hate that. That actually sounds like a good idea.
You know that it would be the alcoholic crop duster pilots who would win. Like, they just beat the shit out of them because, like, oh, you have this technology where maybe your ship can predict their flight path. You're not going to predict that flight path. Who knows where they're going? They don't even know.
Oh,
that worked. Yeah, apparently.
Apparently. Sent like 8 winos up in World War II airplanes, and turns out that was what we needed. Look at that.
A fifth of Jack for a kill.
Yeah, boy, that would surprise the shit out of the aliens, wouldn't it? How they defeat us so quickly? I don't know. They're all drunk.
We got the stick in one hand and Jack in the other. Woo!
Actually, I've watched enough Star Trek to know that you just have to beat them in 3D chess by not playing in a way that makes any logical sense. Start making up rules. Only if it's after 9 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Or we could just dox them.
Dox them? They're from SETI Alpha 5. Checkmate. Or like fucking Ender's Game, or how many other, like, every single science fiction movie that involves contact with aliens. Aliens are hostile.
Like there's two things you don't do. You don't make AI, and you don't fuck with aliens.
Yeah. Like the
right? And
science-
you don't open fucking lead sarcophaguses.
well, I mean, and most sarcophagi from the upper classes from the Middle Ages and into Roman period were lead.
Okay, we need a
they
nerd
used.
button. Just a button like it just goes nerd.
I'm just pointing out,
Nerd.
like they were all lead, man. Like all of them.
Yeah,
of
and
them.
we shouldn't open any of them.
Why not? You curious? Eric, are you curious what's inside?
No.
I'm
They
also
were
the
buried,
guy who
they were buried for a reason, and we should respect that and leave it alone.
because they were dead, and not burying them would probably spread disease.
It spread disease anyway.
Well, it could. But I'm just saying, like, I'm the guy though that like would because I don't believe in curses and shit. So like, I'm the guy who would be like, "Oh, look, it's an ancient Egyptian sarcophagus that with a bunch of curses on it. I'm opening it."
All right, Andrew does not agree with me. We need to dox him.
And once again, I will remind you. Feel free.
Oh, that is a paintball gun. Do not worry.
For
Just
legal
kicking his-
reasons, that's an
kicking his door.
airsoft.
Kick in his door. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm never more than 3 steps away from a gun in my house. But yeah, it's that'll work out well.
Tickled.
Oh, yes. Let's see. Do we have time? Yeah, we have time. Okay. How about this one? Sonoma County, that's the wine county here in California, unveils the first ever proposed well water fees under pioneering California groundwater law.
Oh, good lord.
In a dramatic shift from California's history of allowing landowners to freely pump and consume water from their own wells, Sonoma County's rural residents and many others will soon begin paying for the water drawn from beneath their feet. In a sprawling 81,284-acre Santa Rosa Plain groundwater basin, the proposed registry fee for a rural resident is $18 to $25 a year, much lower than the rates of the more sparsely populated Petaluma and Sonoma valleys. So in the 44,846 Sonoma Valley Basin, the fee would be $40 to $80 a year. And in the upper Petaluma Basin, it could be $115 to $200 a year. So this is basically the government would be taxing these people for using their own private wells.
Yeah.
Because the government owns the water now.
But they won't tax the corporations like
Fucking
Arrowhead
Nestle.
or Nestle.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, don't forget that we've seen a war almost break out between two states over water rights.
Arizona and Colorado are having an issue right now. Not Arizona, Colorado. Nebraska. Is it Nebraska, Colorado? I think Nebraska, Colorado. They're having an issue with that right now. And then Arizona, Nevada are also having an issue with water, fighting over a river.
Yeah, I mean, look at what the Colorado River looks like now near its end versus what it looked like 50 years ago. And so and now, which pretty clearly indicates the state is definitely a great arbiter of proper use of resources. But I mean, I don't know how it is in California. I know in Wisconsin, you own all mineral and resource rights to the center of the earth on your property.
Dave asked, did they pass the tax on each mile a citizen drives a car truck? No, they tried to do the mileage thing, and it kind of backfired on them. Mainly, the big reason it failed was because of the truckers, because we have the ports in Oakland and Los Angeles, huge shipping, and the truckers were like, "Fuck you, no."
Yeah.
Seattle's trying to push it though. Washington is trying to push that.
Of course they are.
Yeah,
because that's the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, the P and Dub.
But that I don't know. I mean, I would assume in California it's got to be fairly similar, right? Like you own the mineral rights on your property.
It varies. It varies. Like somebody can buy the mineral rights, or they can buy the timber rights. I don't believe that anybody can own the water rights. I believe you can acquire water rights from the government if you're a farmer, things like that. But this was the first time they've gone after private wells in that regard.
It's on my fucking property. Like, I dug a hole to water, like on my property. I dug the fucking hole and I'm pumping water out of it. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you don't get to tax me on that.
Well, they don't want self-sustaining people.
Well, yeah, it's the same
California
reason,
especially.
well, yeah, and it's the same reason that you see like the push for the electric vehicles, because if you have a gas-powered vehicle, you can figure out how to get fuel independent of government, but electricity is a lot harder.
The people pushing the electric vehicles have never seen a lithium mine.
Yeah, I have.
Or the process of what it goes through to acquire lithium. And there's actually Elon came out about that the other day and posted an article about how the demand for lithium is way, way, way higher than the current supply.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, yeah, he straight up said that like the reason that Teslas are taking so long to get to customers is not because of a lack of demand. That's not why the sales are down. It's because we honestly can't make them quickly enough because we need batteries to make them run. And so again, you've done going to these electric cars is you swapped one finite resource for another finite resource.
And even when you show them a picture of the lithium mines and explain that process, they're still completely in denial about it. It's like, well, it's still a better idea to go ahead and switch to the electric vehicles in the long run. It's like
climate change.
Yeah. And have you seen what lithium mines do to the environment around them?
I'm just saying we got a whole bunch of seawater, and if seawater's rising, there's hydrogen in it.
Yeah, except that the problem with hydrogen fuel is that it's a net negative fuel. It takes more energy to crack the hydrogen off of the oxygen molecules from water than you get out of it.
I'm trying to use their own logic against them. Hold on.
Well, you could go to pure ethanol if you wanted to. That's a renewable resource.
Oh no, we need the corn for. No, they're actually paying farmers to not farm corn anymore.
Yeah, it's if you just converted to pure ethanol, that in fact would be fine because it's infinitely renewable. You can just keep growing more corn and just keep refining it, and it just takes heat from wood, which is also a renewable resource, to produce ethanol. People do it in West Virginia all the time. So
popcorn was ahead of his time.
Popcorn. It's so weird to me that I went to high school with his niece. Like, that's super bizarre. It still trips me out, man.
Yeah. So anyway, nobody cares. So how about what happens when the weapons sent to Ukraine? The U.S. doesn't really know.
Operation Fast and Furious. What?
The U.S. has
moderate rebels.
Hold on. We'll get to that. The U.S. has a few ways to track the sustainable supply of anti-tank, anti-aircraft, and other weaponry it is sent across the border into Ukraine. A blind spot that's due in large to part of the lack of the U.S. boots on the ground in the country, and easy portability of many of the smaller systems now pouring across the border. It's a conscious risk the Biden administration is willing to take. Hold on. Tell me where you've heard this before. In the short term, the U.S. sees the transfer of hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment to be vital to the Ukrainians' ability to hold off Moscow's invasion. A senior defense official said Tuesday that it, quote, certainly the largest recent supply to a partner country in a conflict. But the risk, both current U.S. officials and defense analysts say, is in the long term, some of those weapons may wind up in the hands of other militaries or militias that the U.S. did not intend to harm.
It's very vital that we give a large amount of American military equipment and training to rebels and insurgents in a country to hold off the Russians. This sounds somewhat...
I got the Rambo 3 song playing in the background.
Yeah, dedicated to the brave fighters of the Mujahideen. Yeah. Hi, I'm the CIA.
It totally worked out. It worked out so well in Afghanistan, and in Syria, and in Libya.
Nothing went wrong there.
Nothing.
I know. I was talking about it.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the CIA. You may remember me from such hits as arming the moderate rebels.
And arming the moderate rebels too.
Yeah, arming the moderate rebels 2 and arming the moderate rebels 3 redo.
Arming the prequel, arming the moderate rebels Iran.
Yeah.
Oh,
And well, the prequel or the spin-off arming the moderate rebels through the sale of drugs.
arming the moderate rebels Benghazi.
Yes. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
Regime change. What could possibly go wrong?
Let's see. We armed the moderate rebels in Afghanistan, and they became the Taliban. Right, Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda. In Syria, and they became, what was
ISIS.
what was the acronym? ISIS. I'm just saying, there's all the Azov already exist. So they can't create.
Can you imagine being a World War II veteran who landed on D-Day and fought your way across Fortress Europe, and then you're watching the American government literally give Nazis enormous amounts of military equipment? What the hell?
Okay, I'm trying to say. Okay. State National Guards to send armored vehicles to Ukraine. Multiple governors announced this week that their state National Guards will be sending armored vehicles to Ukraine in response to a request from the Pentagon. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine and West Virginia Governor Jim Justice, both Republicans, announced this week that their state National Guard will be providing an unspecified number of M113 armored personnel carriers, which help move equipment and soldiers, quote, while providing protection from small arms fire and the effects of artillery.
Anybody else seeing that scene in Lord of War right now? You can delay your offensive for a few more days. I can provide you armored personnel carriers, which would dramatically reduce your casualties. Hey, go to me, the Lord of War. I think it is you.
As we continue to learn about Russian war crimes in Ukraine, those of us in Ohio stand ready to help the Ukrainian people in any way possible.
Don't get me wrong, the Russians probably have done some terrible things in Ukraine. That seems likely. But almost all of the evidence says that the Ukrainians are doing it to themselves. So they can be look at how horrible the Russians are and get more military equipment from the United States. And remember Zelensky with his, I need $1 billion.
The development comes just days after President Biden announced that the U.S. will send Ukraine another $800 million in military support, which includes 72 155 millimeter howitzers and more than 121 ghost drones.
Ghost drones?
Ghost drones.
See, I want one of those. They keep worrying about ghost guns. I want some ghost fucking drones.
A separate round of $800 million in aid to Ukraine was authorized by Biden earlier this month, including 200 M113 APCs, 300 Switchblade drones, and other equipment.
I hear ghost drone, and all I can think of is that video of that DJI Phantom in Burma, where they fly over and drop a bomb right from the drone. That's fucking brilliant, man. And those are the guys that are using the FGC-9s too.
Let's see. The Phoenix Ghost drone. What is a Phoenix? Oh, Al Jazeera has an article on it.
Yay! What a surprise!
Phoenix Ghost tactical unmanned aerial system was designed mainly for striking targets. Let's see. By U.S. company Avex Aerospace are particularly well suited to fight in Ukraine's east in the flat and open terrains of the region known as the Donbass.
The Donbass, that whole area. I don't even really want to. I ain't even going to get into it, but let's just say, leave it at Russia actually has a point. But historically, they have a point. Yes. But
hold on. The U.S. Air Force created a new weapon system called the Phoenix Ghost for Ukraine.
How could that go wrong? brand new technology. Oh my god! I mean, we like during World War II, right? Leading up to World War II, before the United States entered it, we were selling military equipment to Britain in huge amounts, but we hadn't actually joined the war, right? We were technically still neutral. But then our ships started getting sunk. Same with World War I. Our ships started getting sunk. Like the Lusitania, which got sunk, leading into World War I, and that's what kind of brought the United States into the war. And then now, since we've found it and sent subs down, we discovered that the hold was in fact full of artillery pieces and rounds, making it war material and therefore a legitimate target, which the Germans had always maintained anyway. But like we do that. That's what the United States likes to do. But we previously in other conflicts sold it to them.
Mm-hmm.
We gave it to them in exchange for money. We were selling things. Simply giving equipment to a side is choosing a side. that is entering a conflict. That is.
Yes, and as Jack asked, how is that not a declaration of war against Russia? If you're already equipping my enemy, are you not my enemy? Right? Oh, well, I mean, you got to, if you go back to Syria, right? 2013, 2014, like there were CIA-backed militias that were fighting Russian-backed militias.
Yeah.
Well, there's also CIA-backed militias fighting FBI-backed militias, but that's a different conversation.
That's that whole proxy war thing.
But yeah, there were. Yeah. I mean, and that was over a pipeline. Now again, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, part of that is because of a pipeline. But yeah, I mean, arming Ukraine against Russia is a slap in the face to Russia, and we can go tinfoil hat and say that the shutdown in Shanghai is part of that slap back because of the U.S.'s involvement with Ukraine against Russia.
Oh yeah, almost guaranteed.
The Shanghai lockdown closed the port. There's like 500 cargo ships sitting out there right now. 500 cargo ships, and the U.S. is a net importer of goods. It is a net importer of food, and a lot of that comes from East Asia.
Yeah, which we never should have been. There's no legitimate reason for the United States to be
US,
a net importer of food.
It's China's way of putting sanctions on the U.S. without actually putting sanctions on the U.S.
Right, because putting actual sanctions on the U.S. is a very dangerous.
Would be when what is it when goods don't cross borders, soldiers will. Right, I think that's the quote.
Well, don't forget, at DEF CON, the organization DEF CON released a statement a couple of days ago that pointed out that there are 3 countries that have now officially declared that they would use nuclear weapons without nuclear provocation: Russia, China, and North Korea.
Yeah. None of those are on our side, guys.
Yeah. Nope. And they've all been like, no, we're totally willing to nuke you without you nuking us first.
Yes. Let's see, back to the let's see, wind up in the hands of militaries and militias that the U.S. did not intend to arm. Quote, we have fidelity for a short time, but when it enters the fog of war, we have almost zero, said one source briefed on U.S. intelligence. Quote, if it drops into a big black hole and you have almost no sense at all after a short period of time.
Yeah, how could that possibly go wrong?
If making the decision to send billions of dollars of weapons and equipment into Ukraine, the Biden administration factored in the risk that some of the shipments may ultimately end up in unexpected places. But right now, the official said the administration views a failure to adequately arm Ukraine as a greater risk. Just saying that the Twin Towers, 9/11 supposedly happened by the people that the U.S. was arming in the 1980s. I just want to put that out there against Russia.
Oh,
and they got really upset when the U.S. cut off that pipeline.
When I was in Afghanistan, I mean,
I'm gonna jump on this right now. The Azov hate us for our freedom.
Yeah, right. That's why the when I was in Afghanistan, like I saw at least in one place there was a Russian tank that had been blown up during the Soviet invasion that was very clearly hit by an American-made missile.
Mhm.
And the same day, we were shot at by an American-made missile.
Yeah, it's
Like this, you can't like write a more ironic thing than that. Like it was definitely an American Stinger that was fired at our helicopter the same day that we saw a burned out old tank, rusted tank from the Soviet invasion sitting there that had been hit by an American-made anti-tank missile. Like this is it's absolutely absurd that like they think that this is a good idea. This has never been a good idea. This has never in American history worked out to our favor. Never in all of American history.
That's why they keep doing it. That's why they keep doing it again and again.
This time it'll work.
Like how many times? Like I want to say it's like 3 times that the U.S. was involved in Iranian elections. Like overthrowing the sheiks and all that good stuff.
We were all but dry humping the Shah of Iran. Are you kidding me? Like
exactly. And now Iran is considered to be one of our greatest threats, one of our biggest enemies.
Which is funny because they're very nice people. You know, I've been there because you can't go there in an American passport. You can on an Irish one.
It's it hurts. I'm just gonna say that it hurts.
I mean it just, you know, and the thing is that every single time we've intervened in conflicts like this, every single time we've gone in and been like, we're going to help these rebels or we're going to help this army. I mean, look at Vietnam, right? Like the when we helped South Vietnam, they were being run by a tyrant as it is. And like, we still propped that motherfucker up.
Mm-hmm.
And like famously, I think it was Kissinger said, well, he may be a rotten bastard, but he's our rotten bastard.
What was Chris Stevens doing in Benghazi?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And then what happened? And then what happened after that?
Well, because he started asking questions about why the hell the agency had the presence there it did and what were they doing. And then they found out because they started getting shot at by the same weapons he was selling.
Yes.
And Clinton abandoned him so that she could cover
I'm just saying,
it up.
go watch 13 Hours. That is an absolutely fantastic movie. If you ignore the obvious propaganda, and I love that they make the government look like assholes, though.
Yeah, well, because remember, most of the guys who died there, they were not like they were described in the media as Navy SEAL. Well, and you know, Navy SEALs and Special Forces, they're all contractors. They're all private citizens who had been hired and were being paid. Yeah. They were not part of the American military. And it's still really good, despite the fact that Dan Bilzerian's in it.
Yes,
and he's an asshole.
Yes,
fucking poser ass motherfucker.
He does get shot in John Wick though, so it's okay.
Yeah. Anything that results in Dan Bilzerian looking like an ass is good for me. That fucking washout motherfucker couldn't even hack it. I can't make it through buds, but you know I was almost to see. Fuck you.
Yes. Okay. Here's another one. Andrew's gonna hurt himself. Okay. Because the U.S. military is not on the ground, the U.S. and NATO are heavily reliant on information provided by Ukraine's government. Privately
officially trustworthy.
Privately officials recognize that Ukraine has an incentive to give only information that will bolster their case for more aid, more arms, and more diplomatic assistance.
What? You don't say. You don't fucking say.
No. I'm shocked.
It hurts.
You mean to tell me the Nazis are not trustworthy?
What? When did that happen? I mean, they always seemed so on the up and up historically.
Just above board, you know?
Yeah, it's absolutely reliable.
Oh my God. Oh, you know, they should be doxing the Russians. That's what they should be doing.
They are, though. That's the thing. Is the Ukrainians
oh my God,
doxing Russians.
The video of the Ukrainians calling the dude's mom that he just stoned. That is one of the most fucked up things I've ever seen.
Yeah, they are doxing them, and they're doing that, and they're doing it regularly. And Jesus fucking, like, what a piece of shit, man.
They're literally the Washington Post.
Like, I would I could see doing it to apologize to her
Yes.
and say, I'm really sorry.
Hey, this didn't need to happen.
Yeah, this was war. I'm really sorry. I just want you to
Yeah.
know, how sorry I am, blah, blah, blah.
No.
Which isn't really going to mean much, honestly. You fucking shot her kid in the head. But the fact that they do that, like, oh my God. And like, these are the people that we're sending weapons to?
Yeah, hold on. I got another quote. It is war. Everything they do and say publicly is designed to help them win the war. Every public sentiment is an information operation. Every interview, every Zelensky appearance broadcast is an information operation. It doesn't mean they're wrong to do it in any way, though.
So this is a cop-out, although technically correct.
God.
This is like technically right? Like, you're going to do everything that you possibly can to win a war. But they're using well, of course they're going to do everything they can to win a war as justification for sending millions and millions and millions of dollars of American military hardware.
Billions with a B.
Oh yeah, it's gotten to that. Yeah, billions of dollars.
But you got $1,400 from the government last year.
I didn't, but
No.
other people did. People who file taxes did.
Yeah.
But
I didn't.
But they got, that you're sending all of that to them into a black hole where it could wind up in the hands of Nazis. It could wind up in the hands of mild Nazis or hardcore Nazis.
Yeah.
Or maybe people who aren't Nazis at all, but you have absolutely no oversight of this whatsoever.
Oh, they're just moderate Nazis.
Yeah, they're moderate Nazis.
They're
only
Nazis.
A little fascist and anti-Semitic. It's okay. Don't forget, these are the same people, right? And they will argue. And like that happened. I showed you guys that in the chat, that dude that was arguing that they totally weren't really Nazis.
Yeah.
That they honestly believe that they're not Nazis in just a few years. They stopped being Nazis, despite the fact that just a few years ago, there was a giant rally where the Azov battalion was wearing Nazi SS uniforms, like Waffen SS and Einstadt's uniforms around a memorial that is state sponsored to a Nazi war criminal who famously declared the Balkans Judenfrei.
Yep. All right. Two paragraphs. The Biden administration and NATO countries say they are providing weapons to Ukraine based on what the Ukrainian forces say they need. Whether it's a portable system like the Javelin and Stinger missiles or the Slovakian S-300 air defense system that was sent over last week. Javelin and Stinger missiles and rifles and ammunition are naturally harder to track than the larger systems like the S-300, which was shipped by rail. Although Javelins have serial numbers, there is little way to track the transfers and use in any real time, sources familiar with the matter say.
Because they explode.
Last week, the U.S. agreed to provide Kiev with the type of high-powered capabilities some Biden administration officials viewed as too much of an escalation risk a few short weeks ago, including 11 M1 or Mi-17 helicopters, 18 155 millimeter howitzer cannons, and 300 more Switchblade drones.
So what I'm hearing is that I just need to start a small war with Russia, and then I too.
That's what we need to do. We need to go over there and just keep poking the bear, keep poking the bear, keep poking the bear until the bear responds like Tyson did. And then we can ask the government for help. That's what the guy should have done. Instead of saying, hey, stop him, the guy should have asked Joe Biden for help because Mike Tyson was punching him.
Exactly. He should have been like, I need $6 billion a month now. There's a book, and they did make it into a movie that's okay, called The Mouse That Roared. I don't know if anybody is familiar with it other than me. That's about this tiny, like little dookie in Eastern Europe that's broke and needs help and things. And they realize that countries that go to war with the United States and then lose, the United States proceeds to give them tons of economic support and things, like build their military and everything. So they declare war on the United States, intending to lose, so that the U.S. will give them a ton of shit.
Okay, so Dave asked the question, are the Nazis Azov in Ukraine like a lot of people, large section of the population, the government, or is it like a battalion? There's some history here. Actually, it was essentially the descendants of Polish Nazis. They actually helped the Nazis when the Nazis invaded, and
Yes.
they were a militia group that was fighting Russian separatists in 2014, and the Russians were, of course, supporting them, and Obama was sending over arms to the Azov militia at that point. And they got so big that the Ukrainian government just said, "Okay, you're working for us now," and took them under their wing.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind, so it's time for history. So the Nazi relationship in Ukraine is well documented and very obvious. So when the Nazis invaded Ukraine, right? Because
Nazis and child trafficking is what Ukraine's known for.
Yeah. It's and chicks with really big boobs. But anyway,
That's true.
I love Ukrainian. But anyway, so the when the Nazis invaded Ukraine in World War II, right? They came in from the west and the Soviets came in from the east. Well, the Soviets had already controlled so much of Ukraine that the Nazis were largely viewed as liberators by a lot of the Ukrainians. And the majority of, in fact, the Holocaust that was perpetrated in Ukraine was not perpetrated by the Einstadts themselves. They were only overseers. It was perpetrated by the Ukrainians, who also were, by and large, very anti-Semitic. They were cool with the Nazis. They've always been viewed, by and large, by the entire population of Ukraine. The majority of the population of the Ukraine views the Nazis as would have been liberators from Soviet oppression. So they've always had a strong presence. There's always been a strong neo-Nazi presence in the Ukraine. That is continued forward. Blumenkrieg, the Nazis now in Ukraine are obviously not the same Nazis they were, because the original Nazis were, actual Nazis
70 years ago.
Yeah, but the Nazis now are direct descendants, if only even politically, of that. It's the same culture. It's an unbroken chain of Nazism. Again, there are monuments to Nazi war criminals in Ukraine that the state put up. This has always been a thing in Ukraine. It probably will always be a thing in Ukraine. They're very pro-Nazi. They're very pro-fascist. They have no problems with the Nazis really at all. The government that's installed now, that was installed in 2014, largely with the help of the Central Intelligence Agency, is very pro-Nazi, is very closely aligned with the Azov battalion. They call themselves a battalion, but they're actually larger than that at this point. But they are Nazis. They wear black suns and the angel wing or whatever, swastikas.
Yeah, they have swastika on their battalion flag.
Yeah, they have no problem. They Iron Eagles. You see Iron Eagles all over the time.
Facebook will ban you if you post a Hitler thing, or if you post a German swastika. But if you post a Azov swastika and shedding Azov or Ukraine in a positive light, Facebook will allow it to stay up.
Yeah,
they actually publicly changed that policy.
Yeah, the insignia that you see that Azov has, where it's like a line and then there's like half a swastika there, it's called the angel wing.
Yeah.
That's a classic Nazi symbol. The black sun, if you actually go to Heinrich Himmler's SS castle, where he planned to have a grotto for SS heroes to be put, after to be cremated, and then their urns put around in a circle. If you look at the floor, I've been there. If you look at the floor, it's a big black sun.
Yeah.
This is, you can argue that it's Norse symbols and stuff, and yes, the Norse and the Vikings operated in Ukraine and stuff, but no, they're not using that because of that. They're using that because they're using Nazi symbolism.
All right, skipping down a couple paragraphs in the CNN article. Another congressional source said the U.S. military view the information it's receiving from Ukraine as generally reliable because the U.S. has been trained and equipped the Ukrainian military for 8 years now, developing strong relationships. But that doesn't mean there aren't some blind spots.
Since 2014, when the CIA helped install a Nazi government.
It just it's this CNN article just goes on and on and on. It's just ridiculous, 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 and it gets more ridiculous. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing because we only got about 20 minutes left, and I'm tired of sitting
Like I
here
said,
already.
it's a CNN article, so
Yeah,
it's ridiculous just from the start.
Can we, speaking of CNN, can we talk real quick about how hilarious it is that CNN Plus lasted less time than my first marriage?
21 days. or something like that.
21 days.
The Malware
21
Wildlife
days.
Refuge occupation lasted longer.
And I'd love to
than
point
CNN
out
Plus.
that Forest Mommy has more subscribers on Twitter than CNN Plus did.
Nice.
Of viewers, yeah. It's
David said, for a media portrayal, you'd think they were all Greek Orthodox Catholic grannies. Yeah,
Well,
that's the media's job.
the Catholic Church has a history with Nazis that they'd like to cover up. But we know.
Like
People don't
child
forget.
trafficking. Like child trafficking.
People don't forget.
That's why Catholicism is popular in Ukraine.
It's yeah. It's oh boy.
Yeah,
And largely that was birthed out of the Spanish Civil War
No,
because
I'm gonna get swatted now.
yeah. In the Spanish Civil War, the communist forces were largely like they were straight up executing priests in the street and things. So the Catholic Church sought refuge with the fascist side, with Franco's forces, and so they wound up very close to fascists across Europe, including the most famous of fascists who weren't quite really fascists or National Socialists, but close enough, the Nazis. So.
Let's see. United States. Let's see. Where's that paragraph go? Such a risk as part of any consideration to send weapons overseas. For decades, the U.S. sent arms into Afghanistan. First to arm the Mujahideen in their fight against the Soviet army, then to arm the Afghan forces against their fight against the Taliban.
Famously,
inevitably, some weapons ended up on the black market, including anti-aircraft Stinger missiles, the same kind the U.S. is now providing to Ukraine.
Yeah, they actually a chunk of those wound up finding their way to the PLO in Palestine, and some of them found their way other places to other organizations that are somewhat allied with the PLO that we won't go into. But there's a song about it. It's called the Sam Song. You may have heard of it.
So the risk of similar scenario happening in Ukraine also exists. The defense official acknowledged in 2020, the Defense Department Inspector General released a report raising concerns about the in-use monitoring of weapons being sent to Ukraine. In 2020, the Defense Department Inspector General released a report raising concerns about the in-use monitoring of weapons being sent to Ukraine. That means before 2020, the U.S. was openly sending aid, quote aid, to Ukraine.
Green Berets have been there since 2014.
Hold on. Quote, this could be a problem 10 years down the line, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be something worth thinking about it. Over 50 million rounds of ammunition, all that ammunition isn't going to be used to fight the Russians. Eventually, that ammunition is going to be misused, whether intentionally or not.
Unintentionally misused?
That's according to an analyst from the Cato Institute.
How would it be unintentionally misused?
I'm just questioning that. Unintentionally misused?
Unintentionally
I didn't
misused.
actually mean to shoot like that. All those people. Oops.
I
tripped and the missile went off.
Yeah, I think they mean like it wasn't intentional that it went to the people for the use that it went to when it was sent there. Yeah, history repeats itself because people are stupid. Yes, very stupid. They don't learn history. They don't ask questions about it, and they don't understand. I mean, don't forget, like, what was it now? 2 years ago that I did that show, the Weimar America,
something like that. Yeah.
Status Quo, like 2 years ago, and look at what I said in that show, and how much I predicted. That's now we're like, there it is.
Yeah.
Because people don't learn history. They don't
That's
see this.
no,
shit
it's
coming.
because they listen to the show and they're like, this is good ideas. We're gonna write this down. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew, you literally fucked us all. Thank you.
Yeah, I apparently blame
you
George Orwell.
You walked
right?
us right into Cloud Piven.
I say blame George Orwell because 1984 has turned into an instruction.
It's gonna be Cloud Piven Goff.
Yeah. Don't associate me with that. Well, I mean, it was your idea. God damn it. I was saying, don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, well.
But I mean, that's that's the thing is that you see this over and over and over again, where the agency gets involved. They start arming people. They start training people. They go, oops, I guess we fucked up. When everything blows back again, operational blowback happens. And then they just do it again in a couple of years, and again in a couple of years, and it's
manufactured terrorism, right? Or what is it? I think it's Scott Horton. I think it's a Scott Horton quote. It says, "Who are the terrorists of tomorrow? Look who we're funding today."
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Accurate as hell.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I think that's a Scott Horton quote.
The sad reality is, the sad reality is that it's not even entirely intentional. Like they a lot of them are earnest and actually are that dumb. Like they're that nearsighted. A lot of these politicians and these operatives, they really don't see what's going to happen down the line. They only worry about today.
Yeah.
I mean, like, again, look at Vietnam and look at what happened there and that clusterfuck. And we send Green Berets in, and there are Green Berets on the ground in Ukraine right now.
Like, look up Air America. Like Air America, like they were arming people before the shit kicked off.
Well, the entire reason the Khmer Rouge were able to seize the amount of power they were in Cambodia was because of the illegal secret bombing campaign that LBJ was running that destabilized the government in Cambodia.
Don't forget the Contras under Reagan too.
Yeah, that's again and again and again. And we see this where meddling in these other countries makes things worse in the long run. And NATO should have been disbanded as soon as the Iron Curtain fell. I mean, that should have been the end of it. It's
so here's speaking of NATO, I got a fun fact for you. At a NATO meeting in 2014, I want to say, they passed a resolution that says that the NATO countries have to spend at least 2% of their GDP on military equipment. Yeah.
I'm sure that Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and Oshkosh and all the other companies were that. Yeah, we're completely like, oh, really? Like they had no idea.
You do love us.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No. All right, let's get out of here. We're beating this horse is. I'm sure we'll come back to it and beat it.
Are we sure
more.
It's dead? Yeah. Are we sure it's dead? I feel like I could use a little more beating.
Maybe in a few years we'll buy a black market Stinger and hit the horse.
Yeah, that'll work. I mean, if it's airborne, Stingers can't target. You really want a javelin, really, is what you want.
Is it dead?
Because I mean, if it's a Pegasus, fine, that'll work. But if it's not, you need a javelin because that can do either or.
Yeah, we need Control Q to get on 3D printed javelins.
Well, they already have the 3D printed the can delivery system.
The recoilless.
Yes.
Oh man!
Rapid can delivery system.
Oh, that was a hard-on moment. That was an absolute hard-on moment.
I want one so bad, so bad.
Oh, I was at peak Bujardin.
That's a beautiful thing. That's if you thought Twisted Tea in the hands of a pissed off dude was going to be devastating. Wait until it's rocket fucking propelled.
Oh, yes.
Rocket propelled precision Twisted Tea.
Thunk.
Tactical tea.
Tactical tea.
Tactical
yes.
tea.
That's. I should found that company. I love tea.
Let's throw some links and get out of here.
All right, plugs. Since Dave's on here, make sure that you check out Poppin's Patches And he makes tons of patches that are super cool, as well as a tactical tricorn that Josh is currently wearing. The one that's on the sides of Josh's hat right now, those are also all Poppins patches. And I've sported a whole shit ton of them, and they're super cool, and they're really high quality.
Good
and
quality,
you
very high quality.
you definitely want to check them out. The white doesn't fade, which is always a problem with PVC patches, with the white fading over time, and they don't do that on Poppins patches. They're quality stuff. So make sure that you check him out. Also, make sure that you buy Derek's book. It's on Amazon. It's $10. It's called Think for Yourself, Critical Thinking Workbook for Beginners. If you want to care for your beard like a Viking, like I do, check out thebeardstruggle.com. Use code Anarchist15. You get 15% off of your order, and they have lots of cool stuff. They even have stuff for ladies now, so you can use the code for that. Also, I am an affiliate of Archive Spookware, and if you use the link in the description, you can support me, which is super cool. And you can get the metal bits for your 3D printed shooty boys. Also, check out classicfirearms.com. They have a ton of ammo in stock right now, including 300 Blackout. Finally, I got a bunch of that. I am super excited. I spent a lot of my paycheck.
Cries in California.
They have tons of ammunition, tons of really cool guns. They do a giveaway like every week. I forget what the current one is, but I can assure you,
Is it
it's
the Scar?
No, it's the Scar is over. It's a something in 300 black, actually.
Wow.
I don't remember what offhand, but
I entered a giveaway on Harvest Right for a free star.
Oh, it's the current. I mean,
really
every gun they give away is fucking phenomenal. They're always really cool. They're always worth like $3,000 to like $10,000. It's completely free. Oh, it's a Q Sugar Weasel in 300 black.
What?
It is a Sugar Weasel.
A Sugar Weasel.
Yes, it is a pistol. It is super cool. It is very, very neat, very small. Comes with a really nice red dot sight.
Oh, it's kind of like the Honey Badger.
Yes, it's from the same guys that do the Honey Badger. It's the Weasel, though, and it's in 300 Blackout. It's very small. It's really, really cool. Entering it's completely free. Also, if you use the link in the description to order any ammo from them, your order of $100 or more, you get $10 off. So you might as well do that. Check us out on Rumble. Check us out. We're on MeWe. We're on Odyssey. So all sorts of alternative media. If you don't want to look at us on YouTube and you don't want to support them, you can do that on alternative medias. I don't know if I have anything else that I need to cover.
No, we're not that special.
No.
Oh, there's Boog Boogie too. It's scrolling across the bottom right
Boog
now.
Boogie 79.
Yeah, Boog Boogie 79. Cool flags.
Yeah,
check it out. It's worth it.
Yep. All right, you got anything else you want to say? Do we have any life advice?
No.
Life advice.
Too tired for that.
Don't sweat the petty things. Don't pet the sweaty things.
What?
Don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things.
Don't kink shame me, bro.